On infrastructure, that's more of a local question. I can't really speak to what kind of infrastructure Australia does or doesn't need. Definitely in the United States, we have a lot of infrastructure needs just to prop up what we have now. You've probably seen this horrible story of this condominium in Florida that's collapsed and trapped about 150 people inside who they're still looking for survivors, but it's looking pretty grim right now. Now that's a private housing complex and their infrastructure, but there was just an article that released some of their internal discussions about, they knew there was a problem and about whether they should spend the money to fix the problem. It was kind of a microcosm of the conversation, in general in the United States. But we think we don't have the money, right? When the bridge falls down, or the tunnel collapses, then we'll have the money, right, to spend days and days and days looking for people and compensating people for the loss and so on. And we'll rebuild it eventually. So we might as well invest a little bit, to save that those structures before they collapse and become more expensive. But again, that's kind of a local question. I know that we have infrastructure that we need to upgrade in the US. That may not be the case in Australia. But yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. We need to expand the definition of infrastructure to include the things that actually matter to individual people on a daily basis. It's crazy to think that we might have high-speed rail or a new superhighway, but kids are not getting enough to eat. Or again, in the United States, we don't have healthcare, basic healthcare for our people. That's just ridiculous. And in terms of productivity, again, I think it would be wrong for me to try to, speak about what the direction the Australian economy should go in, because I haven't studied it. I haven't really thought about it. But even in a lockdown, right, there are opportunities, right? The food industry did tremendously well in the United States during the lockdown because that was the one thing that people could do, was to order food from the outside. And many people did it just because they wanted to support their local restaurants. And many people did it because they were juggling childcare, and schooling and work, and didn't have time for cooking. So yeah, that's the thing about the market, right? Many people on the left hate the market, right? Hate capitalism, hate private property. I'm not one of those. If I would characterize myself as a left libertarian, in the sense that I think that we have to have a broader distribution of property and access to resources, but then let people do what they want to do, for the most part. And that's where I think, if everybody has some resources to play with, to spend, to invest, to save, then you really see what the market can do, right? And the market is really just another, it's an analog to democracy, right? Which is that you are aggregating all of the individual preferences and choices into an outcome for everyone. It's not perfect, right? Democracies are not perfect either. But again, what's the alternative? The alternative to democracy or to the market is, autocracy or a planned economy. Those haven't turned out very well in history either. So I think making sure that everybody has, basically some, money that they can invest, which means some savings, right? Some people have to have money above and beyond what they need for their daily expenses. Right, for their subsistence expenses. You have to have money beyond that so that you can actually invest, whether you're investing through your consumption choices or through actual investments or starting your own company or pursuing further education. Then I think that's how you unlock the potential of your population. And we don't know then what industries would rise and which ones would fall.
Now, I've sometimes heard it said that basic income is a door and we don't know what's on the other side. Is that,
I mean, yeah, yes and no, and I, at the risk of minimizing the atrocities committed by the colonists and by the settlers in the United States against the indigenous population, in a sense, we know in the United States what a basic income would look like. It's the same thing that, the same kind of country we had when land was freely available, right? Anyone who wanted to work on land had only to move a little bit further west and they could start homesteading land. And that the United States was the richest country in the world during that period, right? Obviously, we had this tremendous resource of this land that had not yet been privatized. Let's put it that way, and that was taken. So ideally, a basic income is a way of replicating that without screwing the indigenous population, right? The indigenous population should be, we should be living up to our treaties with them, and we should be thinking about reparations for the past, and we should be including them in any basic income. But that's when people who had the means with which to earn a living and create communities, that was really the golden age of the United States. Again, bracketing horribly, right, what was done to the indigenous population, and also bracketing slavery out of it. But for the people who could just immigrate to the United States and move west and settle, that was a fantastic opportunity. And so I think we know what's on the other side of the door.